Good morning. My name is Diane Gelder, and I serve as trustee on your DuPage UU Church Board of Trustees. We want to welcome everyone this morning to our open and inclusive virtual community. As Unitarian Universalists, we hold that there are many spiritual paths to truth and meaning, and pledge to support one another as we explore these paths. We are so glad you were able to find us and join us for our live-streamed service today. Please check the church website at www.dupageuchurch.org for updates. If you search under DuPage UU Church on Facebook, you will find a number of ways to be in community with us as well. Today and each Sunday, join us for our Zoom social time following the service from 11:30 till noon. Socialize with friends, old and new, and ponder a question from Reverend Connie as we break into small groups. We hope to see you there. The Zoom link can be found on the Members tab of our website, on the order of service, and in the weekly email. Today in particular, we would love for you to join us at noon for Science Sunday. Check the website for today's topic. Join with our YouTube link that appears on the church website homepage, the same link used to join this service.
As December opens before us, we welcome in the gift of reflection. We turn toward our holiday celebrations and search for common threads of meaning. We begin with Yule, the winter solstice, and we are invited to explore duality, cycles, and seasons, and to witness the Holly King being overcome by the Oak King. Yule reminds us that we all partake in the miracle of renewal. Hanukkah, the Festival of Lights, commemorates a time of miracles when the faith of the Jewish people sustained them to reclaim their holy temple and keep the light of the menorah burning for 8 days. Christmas, the celebration of Jesus' humble birth in a manger, offers us to revisit the miracle of birth and the desire to find saviors to heal the scars of humanity. Here in this church, you are just as much a holiday miracle as the turning of the earth, as persistence and dedication to a faith, as the creation of each new life. We see the love you give to others, the space you create to hold one another's joys and sorrows, and the generosity and spirit you entrust to this community. You are the holiday miracle. You are a community of miracle makers.
We light this chalice to remind ourselves to treat all people fairly because we are all one human family, to take good care of the earth because she is our home, to live our lives full of goodness and love because that's how we make our world a better place.
Please join us in singing hymn number 118, This Little Light of Mine.
Affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. It's time to gather. And I'd like to share with you a little bit about a fairly new Unitarian Universalist holiday, Chalica. Why add another holiday to an already busy season? Perhaps because of that busyness. December is a month of stillness, a time of short days and long nights, a time for reflection. For many Unitarian Universalists, being still helps us to reflect on the holidays of our childhood and what meanings we can gain from the stories of our faiths. Certainly, our Jewish and Christian heritage guide us to glean important lessons from the Maccabees and from the birth of the Prince of Peace. Our fourth and fifth sources tell us that these are valid places to garner inspiration for our daily lives. While we make room for the holidays that bring meaning to our lives, let's consider how our Unitarian Universalist faith gives our lives meaning and direction. So enter Chalica. Chalica was born out of a brainstorming session by a group of UU young adults about 16 years ago. Last year, when we found ourselves unable to partake in many of our usual holiday routines, many congregations introduced this new tradition. And this year, it is anticipated to be more widely celebrated in UU churches than ever before. It doesn't require much of us. No need to send cards or purchase gifts, although some people do share handmade gifts at this time. No need to decorate, but creating a home altar space with a chalice is a nice place to start. And if you don't have a chalice, all you need is a flame and a cup to represent the meaning behind our chalice. Chalica begins every year on the first Monday of December and runs for 7 nights. This year, Chalica begins tomorrow night. And for each night, the chalice is lit, and one of our Unitarian Universalist principles is honored. And this can include lighting words, a reading, some discussion or journaling, and maybe a special meal and particular actions that bring the principle to life. During this service, Reverend Connie and I are going to give you examples on how each night works. And there's a link in the description for this order of service, in the order of service, and in the description for YouTube later on, that will take you to the Chalica guide. But first, let me help you set the scene. We have the chalice, and the chalice is a symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. And it takes center stage for Chalica. So where should it be placed? Think of where your family spends most of their time when they are home. Is there a place for your chalice there? Perhaps you could place the chalice at the center of your kitchen table. Or perhaps you can set it up in the living room. If it interests you, you could set up a little altar, and you can place a small table in an unused section of your home and drape it with a cloth. And on your altar, place your chalice and other important items, maybe a family picture, a small plant, a notebook for journaling, or a bowl with water and stones for joys and sorrows. If you don't have a chalice, there are several ways that you can make a chalice at home. One way to create a chalice is to search your local thrift store or through your cupboards for anything with a chalice shape. Oftentimes, you'll find a short stem, wide brim wine goblet or ceramic vases. And you can use enamel or acrylic paint to decorate the chalice. And then when the paint is dry, fill the basin of your chalice with some sand and insert a tea light. You can also make a chalice out of a terracotta pot and matching saucer. First, turn your pot upside down and then glue the bottom of the saucer to the bottom of the pot with heavy-duty glue, and allow the adhesive to dry, and then paint your chalice with acrylic paint and place your tea light on top. You can even make a chalice out of Legos, or you can place a candle on a saucer. And there's nothing sacred about what your chalice should look like. For the service today, we're going to use this for our demonstration because we have 7 days that we need to represent. There. Now we're ready for the week of Chalica.
Please join us for our song affirmation.
Let all the beauty we have known illuminate our hearts and minds. Rejoice in wonders daily shown, in faith and joy and love that binds.
We hold each other in our hearts and minds with all our joys and all our sorrows. Even when the cares of the world weigh on us, may we find joy in our connections with each other and in the pleasures that life holds. Let us care for one another and for ourselves in all the ways we can. We remember those who are experiencing losses of various kinds and those facing health challenges. We are aware that many are faced with heightened difficulties presented by these times that continue to be challenging for all. As we hold each other in our hearts and minds with all our joys and all our sorrows, whether spoken or unspoken, let's take a moment to be quiet together.
For 7 nights, the chalice we light for Chalica, Chalica, Chalica. For 7 nights, the chalice we light for Chalica, Chalica, Chalica. For 7 nights, the chalice we light for Chalica, Chalica, Chalica. We light the chalice for our dignity, inherent worth in the people we see. We light a chalice for justice and peace, freedom for all and all equity. We light a chalice for encouragement, spiritual growing in congregations. We light a chalice for truth and meaning. It's up to us to continue searching. We light a chalice for democracy, the right of our conscience in society. We light a chalice for community. The goal of our world is peaceful liberty. We light a chalice to connect to our web. On our way further together we live. For 7 nights, the chalice we light for Chalica, Chalica, Chalica. For 7 nights, the chalice we light for Chalica, Chalica, Chalica. For 7 nights, the chalice we light for Chalica, Chalica, Chalica. Oh, infinite light. Oh, infinite light. Oh, infinite light.
Thank you, Jim and Kelly and Becky. On the first night of Chalica, we light a chalice for the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Within us all burns the fire of life. We share this common flame, symbol of our precious being. Each flame burns with a unique glow, signifying the inherent worth and dignity of every person.
Each of you is one of billions of humans inhabiting this planet. A billion represents just a tiny fraction of the grains of sand here on Earth, or snowflakes that fall every winter. And yet, each grain of sand, each snowflake is different. In every case, perhaps microscopic variations make every grain, every flake unique, just as every person is unique. Each and every person thinks and has the capacity to reason. Each and every person feels and has within them the seeds of love. While sand has usefulness when melted into glass and the snow melts to provide life-sustaining water, we would not miss a single grain or a stray flake. Each and every person, however, has worth, and regardless of our status or our accomplishments, we impact the lives of others. Each and every person possesses the right to self-determination, the right to pursue noble deeds, and the right to grant and earn respect.
Our first night honors our first principle and reminds us that everyone has inherent worth and that they deserve respect from us. This night's smell could include everyone's favorite food, no judgment. Just enjoy. This is also the last night of Hanukkah, so maybe it's a good night for latkes and jelly donuts. Take some time to let the people you love be reminded of that love. Then find some common ground with someone whose ideas challenge you.
On the second day of Chalica, we light a chalice for justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Fire cannot be grasped or held within the hand. Fire is transparent, giving light and warmth to all. May this chalice represent justice and fairness.
A glorious golden city where wrong is banished and justice reigns supreme. If such a place existed, wouldn't you love to move there in a second? You might be willing to do whatever it took to relocate to that city, because the benefits would be worth any cost, any sacrifice. Well, the gleaming walls don't reflect the sun. There is no off-ramp from the highway of life to this space. You won't find a dot on any map or a link on Google or Wikipedia. But the glorious golden city exists. It exists here in your heart and here in your mind. Every brick is laid by each act of justice you commit. The mortar mixes each time you demand fairness from friends and family, employers, government, and businesses. And the everlasting light shines brightest when you love others with the purest unconditional compassion that guarantees that we are all equal in the eyes of whatever forces of power our universe. So cancel that moving van. You already own a plot in the glorious golden city.
On night 2, our candle is lit to represent offering fair and kind treatment to everyone. Take time to be aware of the wealth in your life and share with others. This is a good night to maybe find a neighbor who needs a meal. Perhaps a waiter could use an extra tip, or a charity could use your help. Meditate on the ways that your work is needed by our world.
So on the third day of Chalica, we light a chalice for acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. This chalice is a lighthouse, a beacon reaching across the vast spaces. This flame beckons all travelers. Come, enter, and be welcome. Join us on our mutual quest.
Our chalice is a lighthouse, a beacon showing people a way to religious being, safe from the rocks and currents of despair and hopelessness. But lighthouses often reside in solitary locations far apart from the bustle of home and business. In our search for individual spiritual growth, we might find so much comfort in a newfound belief that we isolate ourselves from others. We might feel our beliefs too fragile to subject them to the scrutiny of others. Perhaps a better metaphor is a steeple, whose bell peals out a welcome to all searchers, wherever they come from and whatever questions they bring with them. For our congregations are about community building and reaching out a warm hand of friendship to the stranger. Many truths span national boundaries and cultural distinctions. One such truth particularly relevant to our congregations is this: a joy shared is twice a joy, while a burden shared is half a burden. Let us share our joys and our burdens gladly.
So on the third night, our candle reminds us to seek new understandings and to always continue to grow. You might find a religious service online from another faith, or take a virtual tour of the Vatican. Try a new food tonight, perhaps from an ethnicity you haven't tried before. Reflect on the way that you participate in our church community that help yourself and others to grow spiritually. Recognize the way that other people's insights help you further along in your own journey. Take time to breathe.
On the fourth day of Chalica, we light a chalice for a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Our chalice is a lamp lighting dark corners of ignorance, illuminating falsehoods. We hold this sacred lamp, applying knowledge with care and abiding purpose.
The list of famous Unitarian Universalist thinkers runs long and deep in every field of human inquiry. But thought without reflection breeds vanity and false pride. And ideas without the wisdom of application allows tyrants to run unchecked and the immoral to prey on the innocent. Unitarian Universalism stands not just for unfettered research and learning. We stand for careful consideration of consequences. The hands that splice genes can unleash monstrous outcomes, and the mind capable of splitting atoms can also lay waste to cities. Education has the power to level all inequalities in life, but only if pursued with good intent and abiding will. Only the search for knowledge and wisdom will yield the fruits of meaning, and that harvest can soothe the greatest hurts and heal the deepest wound.
On the fourth night, the candle is lit to remind us that our spiritual growth is our responsibility. Let us be dedicated to growing and expanding our minds. Keep on learning. Support religious education. Stretch your mind and share books. Stay on the journey. Try a new spiritual practice like yoga or meditation. We are also reminded that our sources tell us that we draw wisdom from world religions, and these are valid places to garner inspiration for our daily lives. And now please join us in singing a song in honor of the Jewish tradition of Hanukkah, number 221, Light One Candle.
Light one candle for the Maccabee children, with thanks that their light didn't die. Light one candle for the pain they endured when their right to exist was denied. Light one candle for the terrible sacrifice justice and freedom demand. But light one candle for the wisdom to know when the peacemaker's time is at hand. Don't let the light go out, it's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out, let it shine through our love and our tears. Light one candle for the strength that we need to never become our own foe. Light one candle for those who are suffering the pain that we learned long ago. Light one candle for all we believe in, that anger won't tear us apart. And light one candle to bring us together, with peace as the song in our heart. Don't let the light go out, it's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out, let it shine through our love and our tears. What is the memory that's valued so highly? We keep it alive in that flame. What's the commitment to those who have died when we cry out they've not died in vain? Have we come this far, always believing that justice will somehow prevail? This is the burden, this is the promise, and this is why we will not fail. Don't let the light go out, it's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out, let it shine through our love and our tears.
On the fifth day of Chalica, we light a chalice for the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large. This gentle flame is the roaring inferno of transformation, for only through freedom of belief may we become what we will. May our chalice melt the shackles of superstition and creed, lighting our way on the path of spiritual growth and freedom.
The word religion translates to that which binds us together again and again. The professed point of many religions is to liberate us from suffering and evil. How do we find liberation? By binding ourselves to each other over and over again, repeatedly. In some religions, the bond is acceptance of a common creed. For others, it is the relinquishing of certain choices and responsibilities to divine providence. But Unitarian Universalists regard themselves as working hands of providence in the world. We seek and achieve liberation through democratic community by finding and celebrating our common commitments with souls engaged on the same spiritual journey. In our congregations, we give voice to our beliefs, and we amplify those voices through free discourse and a pulpit that inspires without dictating.
On night 5, we light a chalice to affirm democracy. We are dedicated to healthy and balanced ways of governance. Take a vote on what's for dinner tonight, or use a family vote to solve a problem. Find out who all of your elected officials are and what they stand for: the mayor of your town, the school board president, your state representative, your U.S. representative and senator. Maybe even watch the Schoolhouse Rock video on how a bill is made.
On the 6th day of Chalica, we light a chalice for the goal of world peace, liberty, and justice for all. As we light this chalice, may its flame consume the forces of violence in the world. May its heat warm the chill of misunderstanding and hate. May its light brighten the lives of the sick at heart and mind. Chalice, burn with the fire of peace and liberty.
Nearly every religion preaches peace, and yet our world still labors under the wrath of war. Omnipresent poverty and persistent harbinger of hate. We will never achieve peace in the world until each and every one of us finds peace within our own hearts. A peace that cannot be attained while the body hungers, limbs are shackled, and free will lies imprisoned. As Unitarian Universalists, we can appreciate the sentiments of prophets of peace throughout history. We can also inspire to live lives in pursuit of peace for ourselves, our communities, and our societies, and our world. As our love is unconditional, so must our struggle for liberty for others be unqualified. Every human being has the inherent right to live free, to love unrestricted, and to seek enlightenment via the path of their choice. We are all only as free as the most fettered among us.
On the 6th night, we light our candle to remind us to work for a fair and peaceful world. On this day, reflect upon the interconnections of all our lives, of our money and the livelihoods of others in our congregation, our neighborhood, and on the other side of the world. This would be a good night to go to the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee website and learn about their good work and how you can support them.
And on the 7th and final day of Chalica, we light a chalice in respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. And we ignite this elemental flame, core of our earth and of our very being. We call upon the foundation of molten rock. We call upon the electricity of lightning. We call upon the light of celestial stars. Fire within, transform us with your power.
Primitive humans understood and respected the power of the natural world. While humankind takes well-deserved pride in its modern engines and harvesting of resources, we would do equally well to hone our humility, remembering that we are insignificant creatures next to the might of a sun. The temptation to succumb to the short-term benefits of our modern way of life is not sustainable. We know this well, and yet we continue to avail ourselves of our world's bounty with little care for its maintenance. As Unitarian Universalists, we must fight for the rights of our planet with no less diligence than we do for our own freedom and liberty. As congregants, we are stewards of our houses of worship. As citizens, we are stewards of our nation. And as human beings, we are stewards of our home, the earth.
On this 7th day, we remember the fragile web of life in which we live and all the beauty we have inherited in this world. Our world is a stunning gem set in infinite space. Simple things can make our world safe and livable long into the future. It's a good night for a vegetarian meal and some stargazing. Find some green ways to wrap your holiday presents. Maybe use some dish towels or comic sections from the Sunday newspaper or recycled wrappings. The possibilities are endless. But here's the thing. However you decide to bring Chalica to life in your home this year, I hope it provides you with a connection to your faith and a connection to each other. During December, our special collection will benefit DuPage PADS. PADS is Public Action to Deliver Shelter. The solution to end homelessness is more complex than providing individuals with food and shelter. Founded in 1985, DuPage PADS is the largest provider of interim and permanent housing, coupled with support services in order to help individuals work towards becoming self-sufficient. These vital support services enable individuals to receive case management and life coaching, employment support such as job coaching, as well as engagement with employers, effectively stopping the cycle of homelessness. DuPage PADS is the solution to end homelessness because when someone believes in you, everything can change.
Unitarian Universalist minister Max Coots wrote, "When love is felt or fear is known, when holidays and holy days and such times come, when anniversaries arrive by calendar or consciousness, when seasons come as seasons do, old and known but somehow new, when lives are born or people die, when something sacred's sensed in soil or sky, mark the time. Respond with thought or prayer or smile or grief. Let nothing living slip between the fingers of the mind. For all these are holy things we will not, cannot find again." Our Unitarian Universalist religion draws wisdom from many sources. The sense of wonder we all share, people whose lives remind us to be fair, understanding, and loving, wisdom from the world's religions, including our Jewish and Christian heritage, that inspires us in our ethical and spiritual life. Our common sense and the discoveries of science. Traditions that help us celebrate the earth and help us live in harmony with nature. We draw from these sources and from our own unique Unitarian Universalist heritage to create a living tradition that is ever evolving. One way of thinking about our Unitarian Universalist history is that it is 2,000 years old, with origins as Christian heresies. Or we can think about our Unitarian Universalism as 200-some years old, uniquely developed here in the United States. Or we can think about our Unitarian Universalism as brand new today, founded in our own experiences of the world, even as we draw from ancient wisdom. We have a long tradition of making it up as we go along. In the midst of the December holiday season, when some of the holiday celebrations around us may or may not be meaningful to us because of our own religious history or because of the way they resonate with us, Chalica helps us think about what is meaningful to us in our own tradition of Unitarian Universalism. When holidays and holy days and such times come, let's mark the time. Let's celebrate our unique search for truth and meaning.
For our closing song today, we have a fun song. You'll recognize the tune. It's 12 Days of Christmas, except this is going to be much, much shorter than the 12 Days of Christmas, because it's only 7 days. The 7 days of Chalica.
On the first day of Chalica, our family gathered round to show our respect for everyone. On the second day of Chalica, our family gathered round to remind us to be kind and to show our respect for everyone. On the third day of Chalica, our family gathered round to keep open minds, remind us to be kind and to show our respect for everyone. On the fourth day of Chalica, our family gathered round to search for our own truths, keep open minds, remind us to be kind and to show our respect for everyone. On the fifth day of Chalica, our family gathered round to share our voices and votes. Search for our own truths, keep open minds, remind us to be kind and to show our respect for everyone. On the sixth day of Chalica, our family gathered round to seek fair treatment, share our voices and votes. Search for our own truths, keep open minds, remind us to be kind and to show our respect for everyone. On the seventh day of Chalica, our family gathered round to care for our planet, insist on fair treatment, share our voices and votes. Search for our own truths, keep open minds, remind us to be kind and to show our respect for everyone.
We now extinguish our chalice flame, and we carry its light in our hearts. And may we live our lives fully and creatively, so that we may be a blessing to ourselves, to each other, and to all those whose lives we touch.